Hello and welcome to another installment of Metallic Reviews, the show where I take an honest look at the harder, heavier side of music and give it an honest rating. I apologize for the inconsistency in getting videos out for these past few weeks, but hey, that just means we get to do a double review 2 times in a row. And for starters, on today's double review, we continue our trip through Germany. Yeah, we've been hanging out there a lot to look at an album by a group that is probably the most famous and successful German metal band of all time. They're also probably the strangest, with their onstage antics and pyro-heavy live performances drawing legions of fans to stadiums all over the world. Yes, it's Rammstein, with their pandemic-induced, somewhat surprise album Zeit, released April 29th on Universal. Again, this album was kind of pushed forward because of COVID, with the band, locked away from the rest of the world. They were writing, recording, kind of letting the creative juices flow. So how'd they do? Let's find out. First off, anyone expecting any kind of grand step forward in terms of music and songwriting, you're not going to find that here. You should probably go elsewhere. It's still the same formula that keeps fans of the band so in tune with their entire discography. Guitars meet keyboards for interesting melodies that are varied enough that one doesn't get bored, yet simple enough to be able to stick with the listener throughout the day. Album opener Armee der Tristen, or in English, Army of the Dreary, sets the tone for the rest of the album, with Till Lindemann singing over a neat soundscape provided by guitarists Richard Kruspe and Paul Landers. Now, keyboardist Christian Lorenz turns in a performance that's somewhat all over the place, but in a good way, and that's not just true here, it's true on the rest of the album as well. On that note, if you're looking for material that's very much key-driven, you've come to the right place. The title track is true of this especially. It's a lot softer than most of what the rest of the record has to offer, relying more on background keys and Lindemann's voice to carry the song. Meanwhile, songs like Schwarz, Meine Tränen, and Angst rely more on the guitars and drums to push things. Generally speaking, there's a great balance between all the instruments. Nobody's mixed over anyone else, and everyone gets an opportunity to shine. I guess, if I do have a complaint, it's that the album gets a little repetitive, especially towards the end. It's one of those records where you can put it on and the song changes don't really appear noticeable, but that's a small thing. For the most part, this is a tight little album that shows off the band's creativity with different, kind of majestic soundscapes. Yeah, the time signatures aren't the most complex, and it probably won't win over any new fans. But at the same time, it's Rammstein being Rammstein, which at this point in their career is really all anyone can ask of them. This very strong, if at times unspectacular release gets a 4 out of 5. Next, we do a hard 180 into the realm of the experimentally black. It's Ibaraki's new album, Rashomon, released May 6 on Nuclear Blast. Now, this is Matt Heafy of Trivium's solo-ish project produced by none other than Ihsahn of Emperor fame. It's also got Nergal from Behemoth, and in a move that's odd yet turns out pretty doggum good, Gerard Way of My Chemical Romance. So, how did this titan of modern melodic thrashiness do on his first effort into blackish territory? Let's find out. First off, this is not your typical sit in a dark room with candles while staring at a Darkthrone poster wearing your battle vest with 180 patches on it kind of black metal album. There's a ton going on here, and almost all of it works on a different level. And I think that's the most interesting thing about the album as a whole. It really shares different facets of Matt Heafy's musical and songwriting talents, along with showcasing Ihsahn's efforts. During the parts where the album is just going really hard and punching you in the gut, it does sound like something you might hear on In the Night's Side Eclipse or Anthems to the Welkin at Dusk. However, when it slows up, it can morph into rather beautifully composed acoustic parts. Album opener Hakanaki Hitsuzen is wonderfully foretelling of the album that is to come. Accordions play a la Avenged Sevenfold's Little Piece of Heaven before jumping into the following 2 tracks. Now, as the album unfolds, one kind of begins to realize just how experimental it truly is. No 2 songs sound exactly the same, which, for an album that professes to be black metal, is really rather out of character and rather impressive. There's a ton of orchestral stuff present on the first 2 to 3 tracks, but then you put on songs like Jigoku Dayu and Ronin, and you find these acoustics and these different elements that remove it from its black metal roots and plant it firmly in the realm of the unpredictable. Another thing that's rather uncanny of this particular black metal project is its reliance on the more metalcore clean versus rough vocal style. Heafy's more melodic vocals match up with the rougher stuff provided by Nergal and Ihsahn very well. There are many instances on here where the vocalizations almost seem like they're at war with each other, telling mythical stories that are both violent and poignant at the same time. It all comes together rather nicely. That said, I think the best vocal performance of all is actually Gerard Way on Ronin. He and Heafy do the same kind of battle, but it's interesting to hear one of the kings of emo music shriek his heart out in an attempt to copy black metal's most well-known names. He does it very nicely, putting forth apparent and considerable effort. I think the only issue I have with the record is that it does delve a bit too far into the experimental at times. There are a few parts where Heafy's noodling around on his electric guitar over these backing acoustics. They just don't make any sense. They don't mesh. Normally, I'm all for acoustic stuff, even on metal records, but they have to make sense musically. Here, it's like they're speaking in tongues that I just can't understand. It doesn't severely hamper the album, but it's worth mentioning. All in all, Ibaraki's first effort is a very good one. It's got melody, harmony, decidedly devastating black metal, orchestral stuff, and even a dash of more proggy stuff here and there. There's a ton to unpack, and in the end, I believe Heafy's come up with something that will be purely interpreted by each individual listener, and in the end, that may be the album's greatest accomplishment. Some may love it, some may hate it. I fall firmly in the, I like this category. This debut by a veteran gets our second straight 4 out of 5. Thanks so much for watching. Click like and don't forget to subscribe for more Metallic reviews. I'm going to do my best to get back to one review a week. Again, I apologize for the inconsistencies here lately. But next time, we're going to be doing another hard 180 into death-y, grindy territory as we examine Misery Index's new album, Complete Control. I hope you'll join me. You've been watching Metallic Reviews, where I give honest ratings to honest music. I'll see y'all next time.